Hi again then guys, and welcome to another overall game review. And for this particular review we are discussing a slightly older game. It's about a decade old now, from 2006, and the game is called Tourist Trophy. This is from the makers of Gran Turismo, Polyphony Digital, and it really is the motorcycle equivalent of Gran Turismo. That is the simplest way to put it, but for those who perhaps haven't played this game, and if you're watching this review, there's a likely chance that you probably haven't. It's not so much an imitation of the Gran Turismo franchise as a whole, but more specifically Gran Turismo 4. This came out a couple of years after GT4, and for any who have played Gran Turismo 4, which I personally consider to be still the best overall Gran Turismo game so far, if you play Tourist Trophy, you will definitely find it very reminiscent and very clearly similar to GT4. The menu, the sounds, even the graphics are all very, very similar. Now, for a Gran Turismo player who perhaps hasn't played this game before, when you first play the game you will recognise a lot of things. You've got license tests, you've got career mode, you've got a massive selection of very, very iconic Gran Turismo tracks, such as Midfield, Grand Valley and various others, and you've got the typical in-depth settings that Gran Turismo has, not just for tuning, but for the whole game itself. Now, in terms of the bikes that you can get on the game, because of course that's the most important thing, there is a great selection. There's well over 100 bikes on the game, there are secret bikes which you can't see in the dealerships, and there's a very interesting way of acquiring bikes on Tourist Trophy. The credit system, and this is very interesting, is completely done away with. So whereas on Gran Turismo you earn money to buy cars and tune them, on Tourist Trophy there is no transaction required. You win everything. And that's a very interesting way of doing things. I actually quite like that way. You can race to win a bike, and you can, for the most part, choose which bike you want to win and work towards. And that's a very interesting way of laying out the game. Now, it's to be noted that the career mode on this game is nowhere near the size of a Gran Turismo game. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I personally find that motorbike racing can get a little bit more repetitive for some reason than cars, even though I'm a huge fan of motorbikes. Now, I'm not sure if that's just me, but that is the case for me. I'm not sure for anyone else, of course. Now, as far as the selection of vehicles, there's a good mix. You've got German bikes, Italian bikes, American bikes, British bikes, etc. And the bikes are good. You do have a very strong selection, and like Gran Turismo, most of them are Japanese. Now, the range of bikes from other manufacturers, such as most notably Ducati, MV Agusta, Aprilia, isn't necessarily as strong as I would have personally liked. There are only, say, 2 or 3 Ducatis, 2 or 3 MV Agustas, 2 or 3 Aprilias, and that's kind of a shame, because I'd like to ride more of that kind of thing. But overall the selection is still strong, and there's also a good mix of both road and race-based machines, because most motorbike games tend to go predominantly, if not completely, for GP bikes. This game has a great mix of both, and the bikes do all feel unique. They have their own characteristics, their own look, their own sound, their own tuning, and it's very reminiscent of Gran Turismo. And if you enjoy Gran Turismo, you will probably enjoy this game regardless of if you're necessarily a huge fan of bikes or not. What about the physics though? Because obviously that's a hugely important thing for a motorbike game, and this is a decade old after all, and it is on the PS2. Well, I have to say, it's not perfect. When you first play the game, the physics can feel a little bit twitchy, and the flow of the bike is completely down to you. The bike doesn't flow through the corners as a real bike would. You have to actually physically move the controller to keep the rider in that knee-down position. You can also incidentally adjust how you want your rider to ride the bike. You can have him lean into corners, lean out of corners, even drive motard style. And that's cool. That's exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect from the makers of Gran Turismo, that in-depth setting and detail. Overall though, it has to be said that the physics for a decade-old game on a previous generation console and in a subgenre as small as motorbike games is very good. It holds up really well, it's very fun. Even though it's twitchy initially, you get used to it very quickly, and it's really fun. I would say that the physics are probably better than those of both of the Test Drive Unlimited games as far as motorbikes go. Better than most of the motorbike games I've played, and perhaps not quite as good as Ride, but makes up for it with better graphics in comparison to its age. I have Ride on the PS3, and the graphics are not that impressive at all. These graphics are from 2006 on a PS2, and they still hold up really, really well, just like this game's counterpart, Gran Turismo 4, also does. Overall, it's a great game. Regardless of whether or not you are a motorbike fan specifically, if you enjoy Gran Turismo, and if you of course enjoy motorsport or racing in all of its forms, you will definitely enjoy Tourist Trophy. The game doesn't have the scope of Gran Turismo, and that can be a little bit disappointing because it doesn't give you as much to work toward, but what it does have, it does really well. Now, we may get another Ride game down the line, we'll have to see. I certainly hope so personally, but considering what we already have rivaling this game, it's pretty much leading the pack. The only rivalry as far as I'm concerned to this game is Ride, and Ride for the best experience has to be played on a next generation console, a PS4 or an Xbox One. This allows you to do it on a much better budget, and it's also more nostalgic. So if you're a motorbike fan, this game is essential. If you're a Gran Turismo fan, I would recommend checking it out because it's nostalgic, and it's interesting to see how Polyphony approach something that's not car related. So, overall, that's it from my review of Tourist Trophy on the PS2 from 2006, and I'd definitely recommend checking it out. But that's it overall for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and for now, thanks for watching.